What's going on, guys? Jake Boley with BarBend.com. Today we're back for another shoe review and we'll be looking at the Nike DSX Flyknit 2s. The DSX Flyknit 2 was dropped in early December 2017. The DSX Flyknit 3, when I had a meeting with Nike a few weeks ago, is coming out sometime this year, and there are some pretty big construction differences, but I can't tell you too much about that yet. But today we're gonna be looking at the DSX Flyknit 2. We're gonna look at the pros, cons, price, and who could benefit, along with the performance of the shoe. But now let's take a closer look at the construction. All right, now let's talk construction of the Nike DSX Flyknit 2. There's a lot of different parts that go into the shoe, so try to hang with me. We're gonna start up here on the toe. So as you can see, there's the outsole that wraps up over the midsole here. It's got this toe lip feature. It's one of the only Nike Metcon models that offers this feature, and it feels pretty sturdy in terms of actual construction. It doesn't lip off really easy, especially if I'm pulling at it, under it. But that is something I would take into consideration when doing a lot of toe dragging movements. Moving on, there's a decently firm midsole here. It doesn't compress very well, and I think that it's gonna hold really well under different kinds of movements. The upper shoe construction is the Flyknit material. If you're a fan of Flyknit, this shoe is gonna be pretty great for how it feels in your foot and the comfort that you like with that kind of material. There are 5 eyelets going up the shoe. Each have the Nike Flywire, which are these loops right here, and they're meant to provide that little bit of a natural reaction to any kind of movements, and they're supposed to have a little bit of give. The eyelets themselves actually go into the shoe, into the tongue. There is no separate tongue, it is a booty design. So they go into the shoe, which is a little bit unique. And I'm curious to see how that's gonna work for people with really small feet, pulling the shoe very tight. My feet are kind of in the middle, so it wasn't a huge issue for me, but that's something I would take into consideration when really trying to get full shoe tightness. Working to the mid shoe, we have the midsole that wraps up on the lateral and medial sides, similar to the Metcon models. It offers that rubber-esque and wave-like material that helps with rope climbs and other kind of durability things. Moving to the heel, let's look at the inside first. On the heel, there's this extra padding here, as you can see, kind of pulls off that Flyknit booty design, and it offers a little bit of extra stability and padding, as you can see here. The heel itself isn't actually that stable. This is meant to kind of catch, I feel like, the heel with any kind of backwards momentum or anything like that. And then you have the heel clips here to kind of ensure that there's a little bit of heel stability. But again, in terms of actual bottom heel construction, there's not much going on. It's pretty bendable and pretty mobile back here. Moving on to the heel construction, we have a solid black TPU layer here. This is a very solid model. As you can hear, it has kind of that plastic sound. It's gonna be very stable. It's a pretty stable heel. In terms of like similar construction wise, I would call it similar to the Nike Metcon 4 construction of the heel, almost identical actually. Moving to the outsole, there's the wave-like material offered in similar models that the Nike Metcon comes out with. It's pretty stable, it feels pretty grippy on multiple surfaces, I like it. So all in all, those are the big construction callouts of the shoe. It's got the Nike Flyknit up here, Flywire, similar heel clip like in other Metcon models, and then a standard booty design. All right, let's talk sizing with the Nike DSX Flyknit 2. I'm a size 10 shoe, and I wear 10 models in a lot of other brands and a lot of other Nike shoes. So to keep it consistent, I'm gonna show you how my foot fits in size this size 10. Now this is a booty design and there is a lot of flexible Flyknit here, so bear with me if I'm trying to get it on and it looks a little awkward. These 2 lips here are meant to provide a little bit of extra give to the shoe, so it's a little bit easier to slip on. So now let's actually put it on. As you can see, I literally have to use the hook here to actually pull it up and ensure the Flyknit sits well. So in terms of toe at the end, if I raise up my toe, I'm about right here. So it's about say a 1/2 inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of space up there. I kind of like that because in terms of lifting wise, I don't want my toe always jamming up into the front of the shoe. Also having a little bit of space up here lets me really fully splay my toes. So if I fully splay my toes, they reach and their shoe's really flexible. I like the Flyknit material for full toe splay. In terms of eyelets, so the shoelaces here come inside the booty design as opposed to having like a tongue or having little layers that overlap. So pulling it fully tight isn't really an issue for me. I stated in the construction, but if you have a very small foot, I would definitely take that into consideration when looking into this model. But if you're normal foot with the normal arch and you have like socks that you like to wear or you don't like to wear, I think this model will hold the shoe really well. It feels very tight on my foot. It feels almost similar to a sock. I like the booty design. So that's sizing in a nutshell for the DSX Flyknit 2. All right, let's talk some pros. I had 3 pros that I liked with the Nike DSX Flyknit 2s. Number 1, if you're a fan of the Flyknit material that Nike creates, you're gonna like this model. It offers Flyknit around the full upper construction, and then there's also the Flywire up to 5 eyelets. And I think that if you like the Nike construction features on different shoes, you're gonna like this model. Second, I like the outsole and how firm the heel is. It's got this hard TPU layer back here. It's a very stable base in terms of providing you with a lot of action on the outsole. I don't think it's gonna compress very easily under lifts. And then lastly, and this is a minor detail for a lot of people, especially when they buy Metcon models for CrossFit style workouts or cross training style workouts, is the actual aesthetic. I think that this shoe offers a lot of cool different color schemes, and if you're somebody who likes to have a shoe with a lot of pop and flair to it, then this model could be a good choice for you. All right, now let's talk cons. There are 2 potential cons I could have with this model. And number 1, it's on the toe lip up here on the outsole. So this is one of the only Metcon models that has the toe lip that comes up. And personally, I'm not a big fan of that. Ever since I was a little kid and you had those shoes with like the little toe lip, I always found those to peel off fast. And I worry that doing like progressive like box jump burpees or something where you're dragging your toe a lot, this could come up. It feels pretty sturdy, but again, long-term durability wise, I'm not completely sold on it. Second, as much as I love the Flyknit material and how comfortable the shoe is at different times, I worry that with such a hard outsole, but such a flexible upper construction, it may feel a little bit awkward for users. Like for instance, I noticed that if I ever put my foot in, you could see a lot of movement here over that base, and that's good for the shoe having flexibility and mobility. But again, if you're going over the stable base and you're not actually using that base, then what good is it? So I fear that for some users who have either a little bit of a medial movement to their knee or their leg, they might feel that this shoe is actually a little bit unsturdy just because how comfortable and how mobile the top is. But again, that's gonna be a con that's gonna be dependent on how you actually move and what your lifting style is like. So those are my 2 potential cons. Are they really construction features? One is, one isn't. That's what I think about this model. All right, let's have a real talk about this shoe's performance. First, compound movements and ollie movements. I thought the outsole and midsole were very great and stable. I think they've supported weight very well. There was no compression under any of the deadlifts, power cleans, and squats I did. In terms of performance-wise, they did very well. But there is a caveat that comes along with the shoe and any kind of power and compound movements, and that's the upper construction. So I mentioned it in the con section that the top moves a little bit and it's very, very flexible. And I think that's very good for people who want a super mobile shoe. But in terms of actually having a stable base, I think that can be a little bit off-putting, especially if you have any kind of slight knee valgus or knee wavering that you're trying to avoid or trying to pay more attention to. I think that this shoe can be a little bit tricky to navigate around because it is so mobile and so flexible. In terms of running, jumping, and other movements, I thought the shoe performed very well. I love the Flyknit material, and I always have with Nike models. I think it's very maneuverable, it's very lightweight, and it's very comfortable. So for using it for more cardio-based training and jumping, it's a great shoe. In terms of rope climbing, similar to other Metcon models, I like the medial and lateral midsole that comes up and helps you promote the feet and rope climbs. So all in all, compound movements, ollie movements, the shoes, outsole and midsole do very well. But I worry about the upper shoe construction in terms of cardio-based movements and jumping. Shoe did very well again, but also one note before we close this performance talk, the toe lip up here, I talk about this again in the con section. Again, something to kind of keep in mind with a lot of toe dragging movements. If you're someone that really likes to drag their toes in different movements, I would keep that in mind, especially for long-term durability, or even just pay attention to it if you do like this model and you want to invest. But that's my conclusion on this shoe's performance. When it comes to price for the DSX Flyknit 2, you can expect to pay around $150. Now, since this shoe's been out since early December 2017, you may be able to find some cheaper models on different retail outlets, but again, the standard price is gonna come around $150. That's a little bit more expensive than, let's say, the Metcon 4. So it's something to kind of keep in mind when looking for this model. Then again, if you want this model, you're probably buying it for the Flyknit and the additional Nike features. So I guess you gotta take it with a grain of salt. All right guys, that concludes my review of the Nike DSX Flyknit 2. I like some of the construction features, but I have some potential cons with the durability. If you like this video and you want to see more training shoe related content and reviews, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to catch us next time. And don't forget to click the link below if you want to read my full synopsis of the Nike DSX Flyknit 2.